Hi, a very, very warm welcome to you. It's me, Rasheed, coach, speaker, and author of Soul Trader, putting heart back into your business and the gift of inner success. And welcome to the latest Soul Trader podcast. And I always find that a funny thing to say because it kind of depends which order you're listening to these in. And I started these podcasts a long time ago, and they're not numbered; they're just themed. But I'm just delighted that you're here. My theme today is about contribution. Contribution. What is it that we can contribute? It strikes me that when we think about business, often we think about what is we can make, particularly financially, what is that we can achieve, what is that we can accumulate, maybe what is we can take and gain. All of these things have a validity. And of course, if you are a sole trader, whether it's just you, one person, you're self-employed, etc. Of course, you need to be able to make a living and you want to be able to do well from what you're doing and to achieve. There might be all sorts of things that you're wanting to achieve personally and for others and so on. That's absolutely great. But it struck me, well, what is it that we can actually contribute? What is it that we can give? What is it that we can help create? What is it that we can innovate? What is it that we can co-create? What is it that we can help in terms of helping to educate or motivate? What is it that we can give? What is it that we can contribute? And that's the theme of today's podcast. And it's going to be quite a short podcast because I just want to invite you to sit with this and to consider it. And it's because, as I say, very often we start with, okay, it's about making money, it's about reducing our costs, it's about, maybe we want to manage our tax, we want to, everything to be at a minimum and so on. We want taxes to be low, we want all of this kind of stuff. And as I say, there isn't necessarily an issue with that, but we also need to think about what is it that I can contribute? What is it that I can give? What is it I can bring to the table? Because if it's just take, and me, then what's really the point of this whole journey? That doesn't require that much skill, just to a grab and run kind of thing. That doesn't take much skill. And it's not really the way of the soul trader, the SOUL trader. The soul trader is mindful of a number of things. They're wanting to follow their heart. They're wanting to follow their own unique path. They're wanting to run a business that is kind of meaningful for them and that has meaning for others and so on, where they're able to show up with heart, with care, caring about their customers, not just caring about their cash. I was saying that business should be transformational, not merely transactional. So I want to invite you, first of all, just to pause and to breathe. You might be watching this. I think I'm going to load up the short video version and you might be listening to this. But I want to invite you, first of all, just to pause. How about that for just a moment? Because you can be so busy. Just to breathe. A nice deep breath in, hold, and let it go. Another deep breath in and breathe out. Breathe in, hold, and breathe out. If there's any external noises and so on, just let it be outside. The puppy next door is barking. It's early in the morning. You might even be able to hear other noises and so on. It might be the same where you are. Let's just pause and breathe. Nice deep breath in, hold, and let it go. Whilst you're here with your eyes closed, still breathing in and out, I just want to invite you to think about, why is it that you're here in the first place? Why is it you're here? Why is it you're in business? Why is it your own boss? Maybe it is that you're wanting to contribute. That's something that was first of all meaningful for you. Maybe it is that you're wanting to do something that was meaningful for your loved ones. Maybe it was about to allow that kind of flexibility that you could give more of yourself. Utilize your own gifts. What's your mission? What's your broader purpose? Why is it you're here? Why is it your business is here? For me, as many of you may know, my work is about helping people find fulfillment in all areas of their lives and their careers from within. It's really an inner journey in many ways, finding that inner peace, finding that inner fulfillment, appreciating who one already is. But it's also about raising our level of consciousness and our level of compassion. That's all that my work is really about. That inner fulfillment and inviting us to raise our level of consciousness and compassion to show up with more heart for one another. What is it that your mission? What's your mission? Why is it that you're here? What's it you're wanting to contribute? Just sit with this for a moment. What's it you're wanting to contribute to your life, to the lives of your loved ones, to your friends and your family? And now as you sit with this sense of purpose and what your mission is, what's the broader possibility? Let's maybe just take a moment again to pause and breathe. Nice deep breath in. Hold and let go. So it might be all of those to-do things and all sorts of stuff that's currently cluttering your mind. Just let's let go of them for a moment. What is it that ultimately is it that you can do and contribute? Maybe for you it's about making things to help people's lives more easy or more comfortable. Maybe it is that you're an educator. Maybe it is about helping and supporting people, inspiring them, sharing knowledge and insight with them. Maybe it is about helping people overcome challenges, stresses, difficulties, physical ailments, uh, emotional and mental stress. Maybe you're coming up with innovations and creations and inventions that are about making people's lives simpler, better. What is it that you could contribute? I can invite you now to, if your eyes are closed, to open them. This theme around contribution, it doesn't need to be a huge thing changing the world. I think the world's pretty much can always be the shape it is, or you know, some major big business that's going to be huge. It could be very, very, very simple. It could be about supporting somebody here, helping somebody there, showing a smile when somebody walks into your store or joins you for an online session. That's a contribution you can make, taking an interest in them, mentoring somebody, spending a little bit of time with somebody. What is that contribution you can make in your own life? If you've got customers or colleagues you're working with, associates, what's it you can contribute? Maybe it's just giving them a little bit of time. Maybe it's about supporting them in a project. Maybe it's something that you could collaborate and do together. Maybe it is through some of the profits that you're making, you're giving a little bit to a charity here or to something over there. This thing about contribution can take many, many, many forms. And of course, there'll be some times in which you may not be able to offer it, particularly in the early days. Money may well be tight. It certainly was the case for me. The early years I had no money. Things were very, very, very difficult in the early kind of times. Um, I've been working part-time previously. I'd had times of being made redundant. I'd been a struggling singer and so on. And it took me a while in my business to find my feet and to be able to have any kind of level of security for for me to be able to do the things that I needed to be able to do. So I didn't really have that bandwidth then to give that much because I was very focused on that. But over time, I found that I was a little bit more able to show up for others. I mean, there was always a degree of showing up of running a business that had human beings at the heart, and I was able to give kind of time and be present for people, which I guess was my contribution back then. But it took me a long time to be able to think a bit more deeply and widely about perhaps contributing in all sorts of other ways and what my overall contribution was and what my purpose in a broader sense was. So these things can shift and they can evolve. And so don't worry if you're at an early stage and it's just about how it is that you show up day in and day out with your customers or with your colleagues and with good heart and just with that and being and contributing actually to yourself, showing up for yourself. But we want to get to a point whereby the others, not just ourselves, are the beneficiary. You know, and for me, that's the thing. The real magic of life happens is that when others, not just myself, is the beneficiary for me living it. That's the real thing here. And in times where there is challenge, difficulty, turbulence, uncertainty, and discord, and division, and this real what can happen is that we can really constrict and feel very, very tight and feel as though there isn't that much of anything. And I'm just going to grab and hold on to that which is my own. That can become very, very, very constricting. Um, and so maybe the last thing I want to kind of offer you is what's really at the heart of the Soul Trader book and the Soul Trader ethos, which is compassion, which is love itself. When you're stuck, try compassion and love. It may even be that some things operationally, financially, in terms of marketing are really difficult and they're challenging at the moment. But we're always able to show up with love and heart and compassion and care and kindness, to be grateful that we have another day. That might be your contribution to Sage. Every day I'm going to show up in gratitude. Every day I'm going to let anybody who's engaging with me let me know that I'm grateful. Let them know that I'm grateful for them and their interest or their inquiry. Or there's something about showing up from heart that is in itself a powerful contribution. I was saying that there are two things that wisdom and compassion are the most extraordinary wells. Like a well that you draw water from. Like unlike a water type of well, the more water that the more you put the bucket in, and the more water that you take out, the less water is in the well. But wisdom and compassion operate differently. The more it is that you share of your knowledge, of your insight, of what it is that you can bring, and your sharing of your wisdom with others, the more not just the other person grows, the deeper your well of wisdom grows. And it's the same with compassion. The more heart that you give, the more heartfully you show up, the more it is that your heart is full. And that's the invitation of Soul Trader. It goes far beyond being your own boss. It's about showing up with kind of real deep kindness and compassion and real humanity. And there's something about that that makes life so rich. And when I think about as a life coach and as a business coach and as a leadership coach, and I've been doing this work now for around 20 years, over 20 years, in fact, I was running and many people may know that these days a lot of my work is as a leadership coach. I was at the graduation day of a leadership coach for an organization, a large organization. It's been around for many, many decades and does very, very, very important work, life-saving work, literally life-saving work. Um, and I was there at this leadership graduation day for this first cohort of these emerging wonderful leaders who in this organization, one of whom I've just heard has just had a promotion. I've just heard that. Yeah, I was told yesterday, but it was the thing that was just most wonderful is that when you just hear people just share how something has just helped them to see themselves, appreciate themselves and their gifts and their talent and show up perhaps more fully, more heartfully, knowing the talents and the gifts they bring to the table. That is the most incredible thing for me, seeing people blossom, um, seeing other flowers in the garden of life blossom. Anyway, I've spoken for long enough today. Maybe I just want to invite you to close your eyes again one more time before we close. And I want you to just pause and breathe in, hold and breathe out. What's the contributions that you've already made? What's it you've already achieved for yourself, for others? Who are the people you've already helped? What is the things that you've already created? Maybe some of your products and services have helped many people, one or two people. Give yourself credit. Smile for those people you've helped and supported. Take nourishment from that. Take encouragement from that. Sometimes it's not a big numbers game that I've got to reach thousands of people, millions of people. No, it might just be one or two people's lives have been enriched. That can be profound. So yeah, feel free to open your eyes again now. And I invite you to show up with those open eyes and open heart. Yeah, thank you very much for your contribution as a soul trader and for what it is that you do. I'm mindful it can be a tough journey, a lonely journey, and sometimes we don't see what it is that we contribute, what is how it is that we help others. And then sometimes it's also that it's great to have that nudge and that reminder of, hang on, who am I? Why am I here? Why am I doing this? Why did I do this in the first place? Why am I doing it now? What is the need? Ways that I can contribute moving forward. Maybe I just want to end with a story I remember a while ago. I've told this story before, but I'll tell it again. I was at the British Library and I was running one-to-one sessions back then on site. Most of the sessions I do these days are online, but I was running these sessions one-to-one on site, and there's this wonderful entrepreneur, and he achieved some great success in the things he'd done in business. And he was like, well, what am I going to do at this particular point, at this particular juncture? And I asked him, well, what is it that's needed? What's it is it that is actually needed? What's needed by humanity? What is it that's needed by your fellow human being? Maybe that can be that starting point of how it is that we need to show up. How is it that you need to show up to yourself? How is it that your friends, your families, your dear ones, your loved ones might need you to show up? Maybe that's the contribution. Thank you so, so much for being here. And thank you so much for listening to this podcast. Um, just to say that I don't know when you're listening to this, but I currently run my Soul Trader and my Networking for Success events in proud partnership with the British Library. If you go onto the soul-trader.biz site, you should see the dates of those events if they're still running. I don't know when you're listening to this, but they should be, hopefully they'll be running. Come along to them. That might be my little contribution to you also. And I hope you enjoy the rest of these series. And there's a YouTube channel of these videos, and you'll find me on selected social media um, and via my website, rosara.com as well. And you'll see various quotes and inspirations and other my YouTube channel free playlists also. That's my little contribution to you also. Thank you so much for being here. Take good care. All the best. Bye-bye.